Hostage to Norms, States, Institutions, and Global Forest Politics by R.S. Dimitrov. This is the second reading for week 3 of International Institutions and World Politics. Okay. Can't get my head straight. Introduction. Dimitrov takes the interesting example of the failed attempt to create a treaty for the international movement for deforestation, or against deforestation, as a starting point for proposing a new relationship between institutions and governments, which are often presumed to be contingent. Following the failure of the creation of a treaty for deforestation, an international institution was created. However, this institution was not created to govern, rather it is what Dimitrov terms a hollow institution. This paper is essentially the use of a highly detailed empirical account of one case to help scholars approach institutions in a different manner. To look at the conditions when hollow institutions are created and reflect on what this unveils about the role of international institutions. The next part, I'm going to go through the history of the movement to tackle forests. Okay, and some of the sort of key problems that it points out. It starts in 1992 and it's going to go through to about 2007. And the first meeting in Rio in 1992, the meeting failed, and the only result was a statement on agreeing non-binding principles. And this is something which occurs throughout the history of negotiations, international negotiations, for agreeing on forests. That there's often people go in with high expectations, but eventually they are forced to water down what they want because of other people, and that eventually what comes out is non-binding and up to the individual country, and that no agreement is made, and actually what occurs is just more international organizations, international institutions are created, which really have no say in any rules being made. They're really just an excuse to hide the fact that no progress has actually been made. This is something like the IPF, the International Intergovernmental Panel on Forests, met 4 times between 1995 and 1997 and developed proposals for actions on technology transfer, forest research, criteria and indicators for sustainable forest management and trade. Yet again, countries could not agree on major issues such as the need for a convention or financial assistance for foreign policies in developing countries. There's this problem that links back to the reading from last week by Chimney about like the global north only not being willing to take part in the discussions, but not willing to sacrifice their position. So they were willing to import timber from these developing countries, but they weren't willing to stall their own production of or cutting down a forest. So they only wanted to include tropical forests in the agreement rather than the types of forests that they have in America or Canada, for example. And this goes through all the way to 2005. And after this article was published, there was the 2007 non-binding agreement, and again in 2015. So not a lot has been done. Theorizing the case studies. Do IR theories answer the question of why states finance and create blank international institutions? The point of Dimitrov was at the time they didn't, and he went through various IR concepts, measurement of power, economic interests. They're more tied to sort of material theories, like maybe realism, social learning, which is more like constructivist idea. And he dismisses them all one by one and says that they're not applicable to this case and that this is an outlier. And this is why it's interesting, because he doesn't understand why it would be in the benefit of countries or states to create institutions which then serve no purpose to actually do anything. And he therefore, what does he think therefore? It's related to the first reading because it's less theoretical. It's got a specific empirical example, and it sort of challenges the idea of organizational factors being important in international institutions. States don't always act rationally. He's really all the states involve them institutions even if they don't want to. That's the interesting thing. This outlier. Why do they do that? And they often do it just to make themselves look good. Yeah. Okay.